And assuming everything is going well, we are now live. So, hey everyone, it's Kevin the Entrepreneur, and hey, we've got a guest here today. We've got Mark from Mark's Travel Time. How you doing, Mark?
I am fantastic. Good to be back with you.
Awesome. So, tell me before we do anything else, how is traveling these days?
I just traveled this week, and I did a little video on it on both my channels. In fact, it's weird, very, very strange. Both driving and flying. I flew out of Chicago this week, and rush hour 7:30 in the morning. I was breezing through Chicago, right on 94, which I don't know if you're familiar with 94 in Chicago. It runs right through the heart of downtown, or just a little west. And nothing, no traffic. Got to the airport. The parking lot was empty. I'm walking through Midway, and like you could have fired a cannon off in that place. They were cordoning off the beginning and the first three rows and the last three rows on the plane. They were making sure people didn't sit next to each other. Starting tomorrow, most airlines are going to be requiring masks on the plane. Up until this point, it's not a requirement. So it's weird. It's just a very strange feeling to be traveling.
Oh, wow. So, I want to talk about the mask thing again in a minute, but we have some people in. So, first of all, thank you for sharing that. I figured it would be weird. I've more or less been in the house most of the time. But anyway, some of you might notice that this live stream is a little different because we're not using Zoom. We're using a different live stream system called StreamYard. And it has little perks like this. We can actually show comments, for example, including this one, like, hey, buddy, steam cleaning the car. Oh, awesome. Nice. So everyone, get ready to send in your questions. We can actually display them. Also, have your cell phones ready and everything, unless you're watching this on a cell phone. In that case, get a tablet or something, and then have your cell phone free. We're going to be doing a little live trivia game later on in this show, and me and Mark will actually play with you because we didn't create this trivia game. But anyway, yeah. So this is kind of neat. So since you mentioned how the airlines are doing the masks, and since actually my video topic tomorrow is the Costco boycott over the masks, I'm curious, what are your thoughts on the masks?
Oh boy, you just want to go right out of the gate. You want to get me in trouble, right?
Right. Well, I got my drink and everything, so I'm ready.
I think people. Well, first of all, I think a lot of people don't understand the point of masks. I really don't. Masks are not to protect us. They can't. It's sort of like saying, the virus is sand, and you're going to take a kitchen, strainer and protect yourself against it. Well, you can't, because that sand can get through a strainer. Well, it's the same thing. Sand, the virus can get through the weave of most masks. The whole point of the mask is to keep us from sneezing, coughing on other people. And on the off chance that we have the virus, it will protect it from getting spread to people who are near us, right? The ridiculous thing, I see people out jogging with a mask on. There's nobody within 100 yards of you. What in the world? Do you think that, these things are not going to jump on their little, micro rocket and travel into someone's house? So you got to understand how the masks are used. That's the first thing. Okay. Second of all, if I'm going to sneeze and cough, I can sneeze and cough like that. Mm-hmm. Those are my thoughts.
Yeah, well, how many people do you see actually do that?
Well, this is a crazy thing, because people used to look at me when I was flying like I had two heads, because I always took my Clorox wipes. I always cleaned off the tables, the armrests. So I was probably, as a traveler, a little more persnickety than most people. Now everybody does it, so maybe I was already practicing a lot of this stuff all along. So I just don't go to the extreme. I always feel like I'm going to take reasonable precautions. And, what I think is reasonable, I think some people think is reckless. So.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Well, I actually agree completely with you. You explained it good. By the way, just to see if I'll get you into more trouble, we got a shout out from the rideshare professor on his live stream.
So. Oh, really? And what was the shout out?
Oh, sure. Oh, I'm sure it's like, hey, Kevin's live streaming, so well. So anyway,
He must not know who your guest is.
maybe not. I'm not here to really cause too much.
I know.
But anyway,
I think Uberman Tampa had a great analogy.
right
you
here.
can read it.
If a fart can go through a pair of underwear and jeans, and the C virus can go through the mask. Yep, pretty much. So, and oh look, my dad's also here, and look, he's a paying member for my channel.
I was going to ask you if Ruben Rodriguez was related to you.
Yeah,
I just saw that.
That's my dad, and don't worry, Dad, I did call Mom today. And we have Rice and Italian here saying, hey, Mark.
I think by the way, can I say, I think your father seems to be very reasonable in his comment. I think your father and I are on the same page.
Well, let's see what he says here. The masks are to protect others in case you sneeze and vice versa. Only needed when social distancing is hard, such as public spaces, Costco, etc. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Well, good comment, Dad. Thank you for joining. So yeah, and Bob says Mark and Kevin, the only two former YouTubers I watch. Yes, because both of our channels have done a lot less rideshare these days.
Yeah.
Which how's that going out for you? By the way, like.
Well, there's not a lot of rideshare. I watch the other channels are struggling. They're treading water to have content, as are we all. And I just don't find, if there's nothing worth reporting, I'm not going to go on and do 10 minutes on nothing. So I think that's why I end up doing things like more travel things, because that's really what I'm doing. And that's the stuff that still has content worthy of putting on a video.
Right. Yeah, I'm kind of feeling that same way. I'm just at that point where it's like, I don't know what else I can really talk about. I mean, I'm definitely going to talk about the layoffs for certain. Because and some people, like, I don't know. Have you talked about the layoffs on your channel at all?
I haven't. I'm saving a lot of that stuff up because I agree with you. The layoffs, of course. The other big thing is what's happening with the stocks, because the stocks are crazy. It's weird what's happening because their profitability is way down by like $3 billion this quarter, and their stocks are still inching up a little bit. So it's kind of nuts.
Did you see? I did a live stream, and of course, with most live streams, the first 15 minutes is the important one. But I titled the video "Gig Economy Stocks Make No Sense," because I've been investing for a long time, and it's the gig economy stocks. It's like, when they seem to do better, they go up, and when they seem to do bad, when they seem to do better, they go down, and when they seem to do bad, they go up. It's like I don't understand. Like, how does, like, when I heard that, because $3 billion with Uber, that's one of their biggest losses in a while, and it's
terrible for one quarter.
Oh yeah, and that's one quarter. That was, like, by the way, the quarter that half of the quarter they actually could give rides. Like, I hate to see what's going to happen with the second quarter results, but they lose so much money, and then you would think that they would get away from that, and no, it goes up $4, and it's like, well, did I miss something? I don't get it. So Moose is asking, what do you guys think of Uber offering medical payments for full-time drivers?
Do you want me to take this one? Or are you going to? Let's hear your comment first.
I think it's I think it's a con. They're doing it to try to avoid legislation and to pretty much show that they need to, that you can, hey, you can stop worrying about it. See, we're taking care of everyone. I actually did like a whole video on it, but I thought it was like, yeah, it's interesting that this came out very shortly after California sued them for basically not contributing to all the drivers they were bailing out with unemployment.
Yeah. And, we've been talking about that. That thing's been on the burner for a long time. The fact that they collect unemployment, but they don't pay unemployment. We had Dastardly Dara. I had to throw that in. We have him getting up and saying how, yeah, we support our drivers going get unemployment when he knows darn well he hasn't been paying into it. And so I agree with you there. And I just suspect that, you talk about this medical, it is going to have so many strings attached when someone actually tries to cash in on that. It's going to help a few people, but I think to the majority of drivers, it's going to be of little or no consequence.
Right. It to me, it's kind of like that that thing where that little joke where the company goes like, no, we're diverse. We honest. Like Trudy over there, she works here. We're diverse, and that's what Uber's going to do. They're going to be like, we're helping drivers. See Bill over there. Like he got into an accident. We took care of him. We're doing good. It's like, yeah, but I mean, how many headlines did we see about when they just offered the sick pay? How drivers just had to like fight for it, and I mean, they really had to jump through hoops to get that 2-week sick pay, and
yeah,
it was like ridiculous. So, but yeah, so that's our thoughts on the medical payments, and of course, one of the things that I did point out in the video also is like, of course, the only people who are guaranteed them are the people who drive at least 40 hours, which of course that means that benefits Uber because it's like a full-time job. You're going to drive full-time, but then I actually publicly questioned like, but what's 40 hours to Uber look like? Is that someone with the app on for 40 hours, or is it like 40 hours worth of driving? Because I even said like, hey, look at our buddies in Chicago who do make the money doing this. Take a look at how long they've actually been driving. And I went through several videos just to make sure. Most of the time they were driving, the actual passenger driving was less than 40 hours.
Well, and that is how they were using that. Remember, they were using that as their benchmark, the actual time that someone had a seat planted in the back seat of your car, which, you know, a big portion of our driving, our expenses is when we're on the app, we're waiting for a ride, we're heading to a ride. All of that constitutes time that we're on the clock. But, you know, if I suspect you're right that all they're going to do is count the time that someone is actually seated in the car.
Mm-hmm. And then the benefits are going to look very, because then you have to drive a lot. You have to be on the app a lot more than 40 hours to get the 40-hour benefits. By the way, WOG says it's nice seeing both of you at the same time. I agree. We bring out so much in one another, don't you?
Or do they mean they're just seeing us both at the same time? You over here and me over here.
Maybe, yeah. Like
I don't know if that's what it means either.
Yeah, we could also do this, but I don't know. That doesn't seem as nice. So so before we get into more of the interactive questions, I have to say, Mark, how much are you missing Disney World right now?
Oh my! Well, you know, I had my vacation, not just travel doing stuff, planned for last month down at Disney World, and that was completely shattered. Mm-hmm. And I rescheduled for September. And the reason I scheduled it out so late, well, first of all, there was not even talk of reopening. Now at least there's talk of reopening. Right now they just, and I don't know what's happening in California, but in Florida, they're just talking about opening some of the non-Disney owned restaurants at Disney Springs. Mm. So, you know, it's going to be little by little. And even when they do open the parks, I suspect, I have nothing to gauge this on. It's just a gut feeling. I suspect that it's going to be some things will be open, some things will not be open. You know, how can you, when you think about the queues and all that, how do you manage that? I did a video a while back on Disney, the germiest things at Disney. And they were things like in Winnie the Pooh, they have the honey wall that everybody touches. It's a cool interactive thing. Everybody's got their hands on it. Mm-hmm. When you're waiting in Haunted Mansion, they have the crypt that you push all the things to make the music play, and you push the books in and out. When you're at the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train ride, they have all the jewels that you touch. Everything is touch activated. What are they going to do about that? Are they going to close all those things off? Are they going to make people stand 6 feet apart? Because if they do that, those lines are going to stretch to Epcot, you know?
Right.
So I don't know. I figured I rescheduled for September. The reason being, I figured by September they'll have everything worked out and it might be full swing. How about you?
I'm thinking. And granted, I wasn't going to go to any Disney parks this year. I was going to go early next year, but I definitely now have time to see how this works out because I'm thinking people are going to be very unhappy with Disney for the first several parks of the park reopening because I'm anticipating several things. First of all, live shows, parades, fireworks. I'm thinking those are all gone.
Oh, parades. Well, fireworks too. You're exactly right.
Yeah, because, you know, it's like, I mean, there was those Abigail Disney, the heir for Walt Disney's granddaughter or something. I don't like her that much, to be honest. But
she's not a part of the company really. So
yeah. Well, and she said some things about her uncle Walt that it's like you're overlooking like some historical context here when you say things like that. But she made a good point when, like, on the last night of Disneyland, the day that the stay-at-home orders were issued and they were going to close the next day. Like, I think at this point the stay-at-home orders had actually been issued for a couple days. Disneyland just had to wind down. On the last day, they did the fireworks show, and someone took pictures and they showed shoulder-to-shoulder people, and she like wrote, "What the actual F?" And it's like, yeah, fireworks are not going to come back for a while. Also, that's a huge expense that I'm sure Disney right now would really like to not spend money on. So I think live shows are going to be going away. And I am wondering about certain rides, because the interesting thing, because you have rides like, for example, the Haunted Mansion, where one of the big things about that ride is you go into the stretching room, and the room stretches. And of course, everyone's crowded in. Now, what's interesting is that there is a way that they can get guests onto that ride and bypass that completely. So I think that if they open rides like that, that's probably what they're going to do. But then you're cutting out the show. And thing about Disneyland is when you start cutting out the show aspects, they're just rides. Like,
yeah, I think Haunted Mansion, I think, is one of them that would be the easiest. So, because if you think about it, you're only having your party in the car. It's not like Pirates where you're crowding in with a lot of people. So you only have your party, yourself or your party in the Doom Buggy. They could probably, I suspect they could load every other one while they're cleaning every other one. And they don't have to do the stretching room. They could open the stretching room up and just have you, file through it. You're right. There are ways to bypass it completely,
but
you can also file through it.
Well, you know why it's a stretching room, right? Because it's an elevator.
Well, it's not an elevator at Florida.
Oh, okay.
Only in California.
Because in California, it's an elevator. Like, the ride is underneath the park. That's like
right. So you're right. You're right. It'd be different there. It would be different. I was thinking Florida, where you could file through.
Yeah,
we know way too much about the operation, don't we?
We do, because actually I went to the Haunted Mansion in Florida. That was, by the way, fun fact with the Haunted Mansion, folks. It's always in a different land. Regardless, every time you go to a Disney theme park, it's in a different land because it's a haunted mansion. Nobody knows where it comes from, so pay attention to that next time. But yeah, I remember getting in the room and it's like it was stretching, but it's like I didn't feel like I was going down. So you're right. It's probably not an elevator there. So, but here's the other thing.
They can't. If you think about the way it operates, because they're built on a swamp. So everything below them is a utility. What do they call those? I forget the name. The corridors that go underneath everything is really their ground floor. So they just can't do it at Florida. Yeah. Unless they built the whole thing on a giant hill, and they're not going to do that.
No, they're not. But I'm also hearing stories like, I mean, you hear about like the temperatures and limiting capacity. But the one thing that kind of makes me a little worried is that they are talking about like, yeah, we're going to have to like clean the rides after everyone gets off. And it's like, so basically all the lines are going to be like 3 hours long because you can only put like so many people in. And then when they get out, like they have to spray it all down. And how many cars can you even run through in that scenario? Most of those rides are not very long. Like people like to think they are, but it's like, no, they're usually like a minute or a minute and a half because, just enough time to get the next person in line and shoot them off. And I don't know. So which is why I like the Wedway People Mover, which you don't have in California, but you can get on there, you can relax, you can cool down. It's about a 7.5 minute ride, through Tomorrowland. So. Yeah, we don't have the People Mover anymore. We replaced it with the Car of the Future, which I actually remember riding that once. It didn't break down. I do remember it was fun, but apparently it just put so much wear on the track. So basically the Imagineers said, yeah, we could do something better, and then they wrecked it, and now nobody can play with it. Okay, now I do have to ask this. Are all the people, this is to the people who are leaving comments, are you at all interested in the Disney chat, or are we losing you? No, I don't. Maybe I don't know. I actually don't even know how many people are in the live stream right now because of what we're using if I
Yeah, I think we have about 20 in here right now.
20. Okay. Well, it's Mother's Day. We weren't going to get a lot of people in
No.
anyway. So anyway, we'll kind of go back to some of the
My first Mother's Day without my mom, by the way. It's kind of oh boy, this is kind of a tough one for me. But
I called my son. How you feeling about that?
pretty good until I just reminded myself of it.
Sorry. Yeah, I actually I talked to your mom very briefly once. I called the number.
My mother?
Yeah, I called the number and a number and got some lady, and I was like, oh, I guess I got the wrong number, and I
Really?
I said, and I remember I sent you a message, and I was like, so I called the phone number, and I got some lady on the other line, and you were like, oh, that's my mother. It's like, oh,
well, that's interesting.
yeah. So yeah, it was very, very, very brief. So by the way, it's Moose agreed with us on the medical thing that it was a sham. We also have Teddy here. I like how he says, "Hey, Kevin," and Legend Mark.
Legend.
Legend. So you're the legend in the room, apparently.
Yeah, you know what that means? I'm old and tired and forgotten.
Well, people say the same thing about me sometimes. So Richard said, "Medical for all will fix the issues for American. We are the only modern country that don't give healthcare as a right." I don't know if I want to get into that.
No, I don't think so. We're also one of the biggest countries in the world that it would be really tough to absorb some of those costs. I don't know. Something needs to be fixed. I don't know. Certainly, well, let's not get into it. Let's not get into that.
Let's not get into that one. So, Moose says, you will have to reserve months and months in advance with only a quarter of the people they would allow before. Well, that is, yeah, that's it. That's interesting that you mentioned that because let's hold on one second. I think let me try something real quick. Maybe we can.
It was asked, "What are we drinking?"
Oh,
I'm only drinking water myself today.
Yeah, I'm drinking a Martinelli. Here we go.
I had a major life incident, and it's changing everything that I eat and drink these days. I don't know. Is it showing yet? Man, I have been dropping pounds like crazy. So.
Yeah. So here we go. So, yeah.
I saw that Shanghai Disney opened.
Yeah, they're reopening, and the tickets sold out in minutes, which is interesting because I actually kind of thought that once we'd start reopening, the businesses would be slow, as they say, for people to go back to trusting things like theme parks and movie theaters and stuff like that. And then I see this, it's like, well, at least Disney's going to be okay when they reopen. People, in fact, I don't know about you, Mark. I think we both have a fair amount of friends, or like, as some people call them, pixie dusters. They have the annual pass. They're Disney forever. Do we both have friends like that?
Yeah, I think so.
So tell me, I don't know if this is just me, but they seem to be the ones that are by far the most anxious about being locked in, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that they are missing their Disneyland or Disney World.
Yeah. Well, you got to remember it's different. It's a little different for you. I don't know how far you are, an hour and a half drive, 2 hours from Anaheim. I'm not sure what part of the city you live in, but.
Oh, I'm about 25 minutes.
Oh, you're that close. Okay.
That close.
But for me, it's a major planning to get down to the park. Mm-hmm. So I think it's different when you pay all that money, and you have to make a lot of got to do a lot of planning and travel and hotels and everything. It's not like you pop into the park for a day, and so what they're doing, I don't know if people are watching realize this, for all the time that the park was closed, they're going to extend your annual pass. However, what happens when they open it on contingency basis and part-time opening, and like my annual pass expired in the middle of this, and then I renewed, well, what's going to happen? Am I still going to get it extended for that part when it was on last year's pass? I don't know any of that. But I'm personally, I'm a little more cavalier. I mean, obviously, I'm jumping on airplanes and everything else. I'm ready because I feel that I look out for myself, and I'm cautious about what I do when I'm around other people. So, yeah, that's my take.
It's interesting you mentioned the annual passes because I have a friend who works at Disneyland, and some of the discussions that have been going on behind closed doors about this is they're actually considering, at least on the Disneyland side, discontinuing the annual passes for a year because with limited capacity and the need to really get the money flowing again, like they kind of pulled people because of course they pull everybody. And the studies showed that once they announced like an opening date, like the pass holders would flood the park and they wouldn't get too many people paying for tickets that day. So maybe
you have to remember, Kevin, what's going to happen is there's a lot of people, and I think Anaheim is different than Orlando. I think Anaheim gets a lot of locals.
Yeah, it does.
And when you go to, when you're talking Orlando, they do rely on filling up those hotels. And, they got 4 parks there if you don't count the water parks, even more. But I think they really rely on that. And it's not so easy for people to pick up and just replan a vacation. Mm-hmm. And so it's going to be a little different. I'll tell you something that's really weird, as long as we're on the subject. They did say, for the inconvenience of people that are going to be staying at the hotels and booking a full vacation with the resort, they're going to be offering a free dining plan when you rebook. But that free dining plan is only going to go into effect if you book the whole package, meaning your resort and your ticket. Well, I have an annual pass. What does that mean? That means I had to buy the ticket to get in, right? The cheapest level ticket. And then I will be able to apply that ticket towards next year when I renew. So it's almost like strong arming me into renewing for another annual pass.
Well, that Disney's really good about strong arming people that way. I will say that. So, but yeah, I thought that was like a very interesting thing. Now, moving off of Disney for a minute, Robin says, same for Las Vegas casinos, which, it's interesting. Me and my mom were actually talking about casinos because this is like a funny story. This is how unlucky I am about at least this one certain thing. And I'm going to get a lot of flack for this. I've been wanting to see Barry Manilow for a very long time. And every time I buy tickets to him, it gets canceled. The first time I bought tickets, it was like over 10 years ago at Arco Arena in Sacramento. This was like 15 years ago, I think. The show got canceled for whatever reason. Then he was going to be doing like a Christmas show at the Dolby Theater. The Kodak Theater, whatever. I don't know what it's called now. He got sick, so it got canceled. And then we got tickets for my wife's birthday, see Barry Manilow in Las Vegas. And 1 week before the show was going to start, guess what happened? All of this.
Everything got canceled, yeah.
Yep. Actually, I felt really bad for my wife because she got tickets to Barry Manilow and Mean Girls, the musical. Both shows got canceled, so her birthday gifts just got completely wiped out this year.
I want to comment on something. Rican Italian said the difference between China and us is they actually shut down completely and forced social distancing. Not everyone here is following the guidelines. I have to take issue with that. They're saying that we're following the guidelines far more than they thought we were going to. China is actually terrible with it. I've never been to China. I know a lot of people who have. And China has absolutely no respect for personal space. And in the parks, the hygiene is horrendous. It's terrible. They pick little kids up and let them go to the bathroom with trash cans in the parks. It's really, and I've not been there, but I've seen videos. I've talked to people who have traveled there, and apparently their normal respect for personal space is zero. it's not in their culture. So I don't know if I fully agree with that statement. I think we're doing much, much better than anyone ever expected Americans to do.
Here's where I'm gonna, of course, I don't want to get too political, of course, but I don't think this is too political. I mean, I will agree with his comments that China did shut down completely and enforce, but what does that actually mean? I mean,
they did.
This is where we're different. In America, most of us, not all, there's 10 to 20% out there, and unfortunately, it seems like 15% of those people are where I live because there's nothing but protests about not wearing masks outside my door. But a lot of us did this willingly. China, especially if you watch channels like China Uncensored, where they show the footage of how China got control and completely shut down. It's there are people beaten in the streets. There are people arrested. They're carried out. There were situations where they would, if someone had the virus, the Chinese government would literally barricade the door shut. And then when they unbarricade it, there'd be a dead family. And they're well, we don't know exactly what happened there. So, I mean, yeah, China completely shut down, but their methods of doing so were pretty brutal. I mean, thankfully.
Yeah, I guess if that's what Rican is referring to, I have to agree. I might have been misinterpreting that.
What? I don't know. Well, I don't know. I can't interpret what she means just by this comment, but I mean, I just have to say from my, armchair observations, because that's what we all are on YouTube. We're observationists. Yeah. It seemed they completely shut down, and they did so in completely barbaric and inhumane ways, which maybe some people would probably argue was necessary. I'm definitely not one of those people. I mean, I lived through 9/11, and we're still suffering consequences from the Patriot Act, even though it sounded like a good idea at the time. And heck, I won't even lie, I voted for George W. Bush, but when I look at what the Patriot Act has been used for in the years since, it's yeah, maybe this is why we shouldn't give government a lot of power when we're afraid of something.
Well, see, that's my biggest concern about all this, because you're exactly right. The Patriot Act went into effect, and to this day, we lost some rights, which is why I don't know, my pointer with the right hand, knows this hand, which is why I have this little Benjamin Franklin thing up here. If you can't read it, you can't read it, no big deal. But it's saying be careful. If you give up, rights for security. Basically, what Franklin said: if you're willing to give up rights for security, you don't deserve either. So we have to be careful. We have to do things in the short term, but be careful that doesn't stick around.
Yeah, actually, during this, not that I mean, I've criticized Marvel movies for a while, but we've kind of been rewatching some of them because they're stuck inside a lot. So it's Marvel marathon, that might be fun. For the record, folks, no, it's not. There's some good movies, but doing a Marvel marathon is actually one of the more tedious ththings we've done during this thing. But one of the standouts was Captain America: Winter Soldier, which I appreciate a lot more now. And because it's kind of, we're living in a time where we're talking about, let's give more power to the government so we can get this virus under control. But it's watching this movie where it's the government officials, you have good government officials, Nick Fury, who's has his ability to shoot all these bad people with this big technology, and it's he shouldn't have that. And for that matter, he didn't have control of that power for too long. So I remember years ago when Obama was in office, and I was watching Penn Jillette doing one of his Penn Talk things, and people were saying, oh yeah, let's give Obama this power. And he was saying, hey, you probably don't want to be giving Obama too much power because he will not be in power forever. And the next guy who has that power you won't like very much. I think actually he was talking about how much Obama was doing executive orders and how he disagreed with it, said that we were setting a dangerous precedent. It's hey, look, you agree with Obama now and you agree with what he's doing, but the next guy who comes in, you might not agree with what he's using the executive orders for, but you set a precedent that we could do this. And it was yeah, exactly. So I'm kind of, even though I think we should be safe, I've been very skittish about the talk that I hear about, the government really should be doing more to lock this down. And I'm kind of coming to the realization well, yeah, but you have to let the people make their own choices to a certain extent.
Well, there's an interesting guy. What was his name? Boy, it escapes me now. Nobel Prize winner. And he's looking at The whole idea was at first it was supposed to flatten the curve. Remember that language, flatten the curve?
Right.
Now people are talking about having a cure. Well, if you're waiting to have a cure, we're going to be locked up for a long time, and our economy is going to go down the toilet. Nobody will be who's going to be doing working provide us with. But anyhow, like I said, it's a tough thing. But I don't know. The his name escapes me. From out in your part of the world in California. Maybe someone here watching will know what I'm referring to. And he said
Elon
the
Musk?
numbers. What's that?
Or is it Gavin Newsom? Or
No. He's not a politician. He's a college professor, but he's also a Nobel.
okay,
And he was talking about how um, the numbers are not working out the way people thought they were, because he talked about something called a not immunity, but he had the word herd in there, like a herd immunity. Essentially, we're not allowing enough people to get exposed to it, where you build up natural immunities within a society. That typically happens with these things. And by actually isolating people, you're going to make this thing go on longer and longer and longer. And he says it's being statistically supported if you look strictly at numbers. I don't know. It's an interesting thing. We're going to look back on this, and I think we're going to learn a lot, and we're going to be interested to see what happens in retrospect.
yeah. Well, Robin had an interesting follow-up comment. People not following guidelines. It just dawned on me, like, this chair is really short. I had to give it my regular chair for my wife so she could work at home more comfortably. But this thing,
I thought you were just really short.
Well, I am, but it's like, so anyway, people not following guidelines because they don't know what to believe. Freedom is more important under our Constitution. To restrict freedoms, even during a pandemic, does not compute to some. Well, yeah, that's interesting. But, I will say, because I'm definitely one of two minds of this. I do get a little annoyed with people who, are opposing something just because they don't like being told what to do. If it makes sense to do it for everyone's safety, then just do it. But I am concerned about where our freedoms are going a little bit more the longer this goes on. Like one of my friends, I was talking to one of my friends, and he actually probably articulated it in a way that was probably the best. He said that probably the biggest thing he disagreed with was that basically our politicians didn't do anything. Like, yeah, they shut things down, and that was like a good step one, but they should have been thinking about step two right after they did it. And instead they said, well, we're going to wait till the numbers go down. And it's like, well, but then you're not doing anything, and everything, the economy is being wrecked, and the mental health cases are going up for no reason at that point.
They're doing something. They're eating ice cream online.
Oh, well, okay. I'll say one thing. That made me very upset. Like,
it irritated a lot of people.
That was.
I will tell you this though. I just got back from Florida, where they're starting to open things up, and I actually like the way they're doing it, because what they do. Well, if you're outside, more freedom, because outside it's free, air is moving around, all that. Inside, they were really spacing them out. If I sat at a table, every table next to me had the sign that said "Don't sit at this table." So you're really far away from other people. If you think about the distance of the space between tables plus another table, probably 10 feet or more.
Right.
And all of the workers had the masks on. And it really did seem a reasonable way to let people get out, let people keep their businesses going. No one was seated at bars, because bars were too close proximity. But the outdoor seating, they were a little more relaxed with the outdoor seating. And I kind of liked seeing that. Now, I guess we'll find out and see what happens with the numbers. But, it seems to me, if they're a model of what's going to happen, I think that's the way we're going to have to open up, not just suddenly unlock the doors and it's a free for all and everyone's, like one, I forget who it was, one politician said people are just going to, burst through and crowd the streets. Well, people won't, because I think people have such an awareness now. And people want to look out not only for the other guy, but for themselves. I don't want to get sick. You don't want to get sick,
I really can't get sick because my wife's got one of those compromised immune systems, unfortunately. So I have to take it more seriously, although we are looking forward to going back to the movies. But I said, and this is when it's serious, I was like, well, when we go back to the movies, we'll probably sit in the front rows, because not a lot of people want to sit in the front rows. It's bad.
Yeah.
Oh, but also our theaters have like the recliner chairs now, so you don't get the neck strain anymore. So it's Moose said, with Obamacare, you don't have to drive a certain number of hours. Uber should just send payments to Obamacare on drivers' behalf. I don't know. I don't think Uber wants to send money anywhere except their executives' pockets. What about you? Robin says, Barry Manilow was my first concert in Champaign, Illinois at 16. Well, when I was 4, my parents took me to Sesame Street live on stage. I don't know if that actually counts. I think my first concert was actually Phil Collins when I was 12. I think my parents took me to see Phil Collins, and he had just did the Tarzan soundtrack for Disney. So he was singing a lot of songs from the movie. Oh, by the way, Tarzan, where does that rank on your Disney list?
The movie?
Yeah.
Not high. Not high at all.
Not high.
I'll tell you what, I pretty much like the ones that are considered groundbreaking. I mean, Beauty and the Beast, I think, was a work of art. You know, there's a lot of plot holes, let's face it, tons of plot holes. But just as far as the movie, I thought it was an impressive movie, you know. I still like, you know, the original Lion King, I thought was great. I really hate what they're doing with all this live action. I think it's just a money grab, and it's offensive to me. But some people like them, I guess.
Yeah, no, I don't like that. Actually, I'm going to share a funny story since you brought it up. This is actually specifically about, because several years ago, the Beauty and the Beast remake came out, and I have a friend, and she went to see it, and I, of course, saw it first and gave it like a 2-star review. I think I was being a little generous. But she posted on Facebook, like, the new Beauty and the Beast is my favorite Disney movie ever. Most diverse cast ever. And I wrote back on Facebook, I can unfortunately get to be a little bit of a jerk when it comes to movie opinions. I will fully admit that. But I wrote, you don't like this movie. You like what you think you like about it is not the movie. You like the fact that it's actually reminding you of the original movie because it's so close to the original, it triggers that memory of the old movie, and that's what you're reacting to. I can guarantee you in a few years you will not be watching this movie, and you will have forgotten all about this. And, of course, that didn't go over particularly well. But not so much that, you know, we weren't still friends. Well, a couple of years later, she does yearly Christmas parties, and there's usually a movie that's watched afterwards. And somebody brought up, why don't we watch Beauty and the Beast? And I was like, oh yeah, sure. Haven't seen that in a while. Love that movie. So they went to the shelf, they grabbed the animated movie, they popped it in, and I'm actually, as the movie starts, I actually look at her and I smile, and I do this for like 5 minutes, and she looks at me, she's like, what? And I'm like, I'm so glad you completely forgot about your previous favorite Disney movie of all time, the live action version.
Well, you know, it didn't have the charm. When you look at those characters, those animated characters, Mrs. Potts and Lumiere and Cogsworth, and they were so charming and personable. And in the film version, they are just cold. They don't have that warmth and that heart. And that's something that, you know, it's quite astounding when you think that, you know, some of these animators and storytellers can almost bring people to tears with a drawing, you know? Mm-hmm. Or right now is a computer-generated character like Toy Story or whatever.
Right. In fact, let me show this. I pulled it up while we were looking at it. But yeah, like look at that comparison. I mean, honestly, which one looks more pleasing to the eye to you? Like it's not even a question. At that point, the live action, and by the way, it should be noted, both of these are technically animation when you get down to it.
Yes.
But the one on the right is so much more expressive. So this is the same scene, by the way. It's the ballroom dance scene, and like, you know, one shows so much emotion, like, you know, the happiness, the go get them, and it's like the other one, it's like they're lifeless. They're just staring, and it's like, I remember like reading all the Facebook, like, why on earth would people prefer this? And I was confident that nobody really liked it. They just being reminded of the old movie. And then of course, with at least that one friend years later, she's, we go to the party and, hey, let's watch Beauty and the Beast. Oh, that sounds great. And well, they didn't even reach for the live action one. It was just the animated one. So,
okay, you want to really see me get people angry? I was on a plane and they had Aladdin, the live action Aladdin.
yeah.
You're on a plane. What else is there to do on a plane? I'll look in the mirror and watch my beard grow when I'm on a plane.
Right.
I couldn't get through it. I had to turn that movie off. Will Smith could barely carry a tune. When I think about, the life and the emotion and everything that Robin Williams put in. And Robin Williams is not known for being a singer, but he just brought so much out when he's singing the Prince Ali and all that. And Will Smith just fell flat. I could hardly believe how bad that movie was. I couldn't watch it. I couldn't even finish it.
Yeah, what's interesting is like during the credits, there was a hip hop version of Friend Like Me that Will Smith does. That's like, okay, that's more in tune with Will Smith's singing abilities, whatever they are, because Will Smith is not a singer, he's a rapper.
Yeah,
and
right.
And it's like, and so when you watch that, and then you watch that closing scene, which you didn't get to, with the Bollywood style dancing and stuff, it's like, you see the problem with these movies, because it's like they're trying so much to be like the original movie. It's like, then you see little glimpses of what it could have been had they been allowed to do their own thing. But like, I thought it was always interesting that Will Smith was going like, yeah, I know I can't be Robin Williams, so I'm going to pay tribute to him. And then they have him acting like Robin Williams, because it's like, that's what people expect the genie to act like. And yet when Will Smith is in his human form, it's like, it's a lot more natural. And he's kind of doing his own interpretation of the genie. I mean, I like when it's like, Genie, can you make me a prince? And he like goes like, there's a lot of technicalities. I could make you a prince. And he waves his hand. There's like a prince on the far end. It's like, well, that's not quite what I mean. It's like, okay. And then you see they're like, hello. And they continue to talk. And then the guy's like, well, why am I standing here? So it's like they had moments, but they're trying too hard to be like the original. So
well, why? So why not just use your originality and come up with a brand new story? Why constantly rehash? We've got a question here or a comment by Rosalinda. By the way, Rosalinda, have you ever heard the Billy Joel song "Rosalinda's Eyes"? Very, very good song. Have you seen the movie Coco by Disney? Did you like it? A lot of people that don't like Coco. I really like Coco. I thought that was a charming movie. I thought it was a funny movie. I thought it was very well done. I thought it was nice to see, and a lot of these recent movies now are expanding the cultural views that we get to see of different things, and getting to explore the Mexican heritage aspect. I really, really enjoyed Coco. I liked it a lot.
I enjoyed Coco. A lot too. It was especially since I like it when Pixar does original stuff. I mean, Onward wasn't that great, but most of the time when Pixar does original stuff, it's really good. But then when Pixar
I kind of liked Onward. It's not going to be like one of those favorites, but I enjoyed it while I was watching it.
I have very unique issues with Onward, which maybe you disagree with. But I do like Coco. I love the music. I love the characters, everything. By the way, I also will say, like, this is just like my little cynical sense of humor. I also liked how Coco contributed to one of the biggest Oscar bombs in terms of a joke. I think it was Diego Luna or something like that. It was some guy who was introducing the Remember Me song at the Oscars because it was nominated, so they were going to sing it. And he was talking about how, like, in the land of Coco, there's love and music and stuff. And he's like, oh, and also in the land of the dead, there's no wall.
Oh, you just
laughed. And everyone because I heard the Oscar parties, everyone in the room groaned. And I think they didn't laugh for two reasons. One, because that was too obvious and it wasn't funny. And the second reason, there is a wall in Coco. there's an immigration system in the land of the dead. that was one of the main points, was that Hector couldn't actually celebrate the land of the dead because he couldn't get through border patrol. the border. So I don't know what they were thinking when they made that joke at the office.
I've never even considered that. That's didn't even enter my consciousness. So I suppose it.
The only reason it
Okay.
entered my conscious was because he had that joke, and it was like, that doesn't make sense. There is borders in the land of the dead. So I thought that was. But yeah, no, I really enjoy. Now my dad hates Coco. My dad thinks it's just morbid to watch all these skeletons walking around, and what. Whatever. We gotta do some of these. Let's see here.
Are we going to talk about rideshare at all?
I don't care. I don't care.
I don't really care either for the people watching. What do you guys think? If you're watching, should we rideshare? Are you enjoying yourself?
Nah, we're just having fun. As soon as casinos open, pandemic will be like wildfire. Unfortunately, I actually think the casinos might be okay because you could easily shut a lot of those machines off. And practice social distancing. Plus, I don't think a lot of people are going to go to the casinos for a little while because, when you've been out of work for 3 months, the last thing you're going to do is gamble it.
What's happening right now? I have not followed Vegas at all. What's happening in Vegas?
I really don't know, to be honest. I don't. I've only pulled the slot machine once. I mean, some people might not believe me. I don't care, but the one time I pulled the slot machine, I found like a quarter on the ground. This was years ago. Just walked to the slot machine, put it in, pulled the lever, and I won $200, and I walked away.
That is so funny because I have such a similar story. I was in the Lady Luck in downtown Vegas on Fremont Street, and I was walking. This is when they used real silver dollars, and I looked in the tray, and there was a silver dollar standing on end in the back of the tray. So whoever was right over, scoop up their money, left this one silver dollar. I picked it up. I walked to the end, dropped it in, won $100. I just lost the end of my story.
Yeah. So, yeah, but no, I don't think like the pandemic will spread with the casinos. I think the casinos actually are on a very good, especially since casinos are huge, so they could have like a lot of those machines running without people being next to one another. So I don't think that's going to be an issue. So should I? No, I'm going to skip that comment. Sorry, Robin. I love you, but I'm going to although I will say when we talk, we exhale carbon dioxide for tree growth. Trees produce oxygen, so go outside, breathe, and talk a lot. I've actually been using my backyard a heck of a lot more, especially since I actually do have trees in my backyard. So,
hey, Dustin just dropped in. Hey, Dustin.
Oh, Dustin is here. Okay, we'll get to you when we get to you. But we're really behind in our comments. We can't skip everyone. I know that sounds so mean. I'm sorry, Dustin, but we can't skip everyone.
That's true.
Yeah, Robin said Phil Collins is a great ballad singer. Hey Kevin, is this going to be your only live stream for today? Yeah, today this is the only live stream. Granted, I'm suspecting this is going to be a long one because we've really been enjoying ourselves, and
we have.
I have no intention of stopping anytime soon. But Robin says, I can't forget the original Lion King best animation songs. Oh yeah, the live action Lion King, which by the way isn't live action. I actually picked that as the worst film of last year. Which I know that's a controversial choice because it's like, really? Is it worse than Cats? And it's like, granted,
Cats.
I understand where you're coming from, but understand where I'm coming from. I don't like what Lion King, the new one, represented, where it's like they're literally copying and pasting the exact same movie and just making it worse. And I mean, I like how she mentioned the animation songs because like Can You Feel the Love Tonight, which, is not one of, I really like that song. Actually, me and my wife, that was one of the songs during our wedding. That was one of the last two songs we danced to. And when we danced to that song, no one else was on the dance floor. I guess they decided to let us have that one. And then the last one was A Dream Was What Your Heart Make, and everyone could join for that one. But
where is your better half, by the way? Is she going to make an appearance today?
I don't know. I think she's really gotten into this book by Ted Decker that's like 2,000 pages long, which
okay.
Well, hey, and maybe this would make for an interesting topic because I've been reading a lot of books. I actually did read War and Peace finally during the shutdown.
Oh my goodness!
Because I had time to. That was a really good book, though. I read it on a Kindle though, so that the sheer size of it didn't intimidate me. But yeah, so I'm watching. She had like a really funny comment when they're doing "Can You Feel the Love Tonight" and they're singing it, and because they're trying to be realistic with the time wise, it's in broad daylight, and my wife leans over and says, "It's not night out." Like they're singing "Can't You Feel the Love Tonight" in broad daylight. Like it's like anyway. Ryan says, "I hated Beauty and the Beast 2017." We already answered the Coco question. So Robin says, "The last movie I saw on a plane was Patch Adams. Was my 9-year-old son. My son works in the medical field today. Miss Robin Williams." Well, I hate Patch Adams. I'm glad you do, and I do miss Robin Williams. In fact, I might as well share this. I kind of keep this over here, but I wrote a letter to Robin Williams years ago when I was a kid, and he sent me this picture to Kevin. Many thanks.
Very nice.
So wow. That's I actually have a lot of autographs. That's why I have that Autograph Hound channel, but a lot of them end up kind of going to storage until we get a bigger house. But that one I keep out and about. But yeah, Robin Williams. I don't like Patch Adams, but there's a lot of Robin Williams movies I do like. I actually think the genie in Aladdin is one of his best performances. Like I say that unironically. Good Will Hunting is also one of his best performances, I believe. I really
what was that one called? Awakening, or what was that one with De Niro?
Yeah, Awakenings. That's a really good
one. He was very good in that.
Yeah. Actually, after he died, I go to my pastor's. I go to my pastor's family every week. We did before the pandemic, and when he died, I brought that over. And their 13-year-old son was just crying his eyes out at the end of that movie. I liked Mrs. Doubtfire quite a bit. I think Williams made that very enjoyable.
I agree with that.
Yeah. So what are some of your favorite Robin Williams performances? Like I don't want to say Good Morning Vietnam, but I know that wasn't really a performance. That was him doing his stand-up, but it was still very good.
Yeah, I always liked him when he was under control, because I always felt that his manic stuff was always a scripted act anyway, you know. And because I thought he was very, very good, and probably underrated in a lot of his dramatic parts, even though he was always recognized and acknowledged for him. Mm-hmm. But I think I've already talked to some of my favorites. I thought he was really good. It's a shame that he suffered from the depression and all, because when so many people admire you and respect you, it's hard to fully comprehend that. But man, what a great what a great actor he was, and it's nice that we had the time with him that we did.
Mm-hmm. Yep, had a lot of movies. Oh, I also 1 Hour Photo. I also love that movie. That's that was where Robin Williams was like really like in control of his acting. So Ryan said, like Leonard Maltin said about Dumbo, why waste so much money and talent on a film that is doomed to take second place to a classic? Yeah, that's interesting. I wrote a review like on my iCritic. I wonder if I can just pull it up here. Let's see if I can't. Well, I don't even know if I didn't. Oh, I forgot to upload it. So I'm gonna have to upload it. But I wrote a review for the live action Lady and the Tramp movie, and I remember one of the sticking points being I'm having a harder time grading this one because they're not actually charging money for it. So it's clearly not better than the original. But how mad can you be about something that's free? And then I kind of concluded but it's even more confusing because since it's on Disney Plus. You search for Lady and the Tramp, and it's do you want to watch the original or do you want to watch the live action movie? It's of course I'm going to watch the original. It's better.
I've not seen it. I've not seen the live action.
Yeah, in all fairness, it's not terrible. I'll tell you that it's not terrible. There was one thing about it that made me raise an eyebrow just a little bit. And I'm kind of hesitant to talk about it because I hope people don't misunderstand me, but there was a lot of diversity for the time period. Like there's, and it struck me as a little weird because Lady and the Tramp takes place in the old horse and buggy days, where segregation was definitely a thing, and yet the main couple is a white man and a black woman. The dog catcher is Latino. The doctor is Ken Jeong, and nobody has a problem with one another at all. And it's like this is weird. You'd think that they would at least update the time period. So
well, I'll tell you what I think. I think when it becomes noticeable is when it's forced and it's not well done.
Yeah.
When it's not noticeable is when you're saying, hey, this is what real life is like. Like, I never even, when you watch Frog Prince, for example, I don't think anybody even thinks about race watching that movie.
No,
you don't. You just don't. You know. But and I when it becomes apparent is probably when it's not well done and it's not realistic. You know.
Well, I think that's my problem here because the Princess and the Frog. The funny thing is, it still acknowledged the racism in the movie and like the separation of class and everything, but it in a very, very subtle way. And it was the live action Lady and the Tramp. It was like it's during a time period where people were really not getting together like this in this way, and it's like this is a little odd. It's just I don't know. I mean, it was like again, maybe it had been set like in modern day. I don't think I would have noticed, but since it's like in the old days, it's like when Jim Crow laws were very much still active. It seemed really weird. So I don't know. I don't know. Like hopefully nobody takes that.
I'll tell you what, Frog Prince. I have to tell you, when I first started watching it, I don't know if you remember the old TV miniseries, and they used to have miniseries North and South. And
I remember that.
There was a storyline in there, and I don't remember. I think one of the actresses was Sandy Duncan, was the wealthy white girl, and I don't remember who the slave girl was. I don't remember who played Cicely Tyson. Maybe I don't know, but it's like they were great friends. They grew up together, and then because of society at the time, you know, it created that wedge. And later in life, when they saw each other, Sandy Duncan completely ignored her and pretended she didn't know who she was. And I have to admit, even though I just said I didn't notice it, I have to admit there was a little tinge of that when I watched that film, wondering when they grow up, are they still going to remain friends? I remember thinking that when I watched that. So I guess I might have to back off a little bit on my statement a little earlier.
Right. Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, so interesting. Yeah, I knew about that series. I hadn't actually seen it though, but that's
if you have a chance to watch it, it's a commitment, but really, really a good series.
Okay.
If you can still find it. I don't know if you can find it anywhere.
Yeah, who knows? Like so many things are not available on streaming, which one of the reasons I still like physical media, because it's like as we do more and more streaming, it's going to be more about what's new, and I think classics are going to. Anyway, so Robin says,
I'm sorry. Can I just jump in something real quick because you triggered something?
Okay.
You know, when you talk about they don't have the classics, if I give up one of my streaming services, and I think I subscribe to 3 right now. I subscribe to Disney Plus, I subscribe to Amazon, and I subscribe Amazon Prime and Netflix. If I give up one of them, it's going to be Netflix for the exact reason you're saying. They don't have anything classic on there.
Well,
when I watch Amazon Prime, I can find older things. I can find older TV series. I can find really old films, sometimes dating back to the 30s and 40s. And Netflix is all about Netflix produced things, which I don't always have an interest in that. And so I wonder, based on what you said, if there's not a bigger market for those older classics that a lot of people don't get exposed to, you know?
I think it's niche, unfortunately. Now, if you do want classic movies, the Criterion Channel does a very good job of having a lot of. In fact, I will. Let me bring it. Let me bring it up so I can kind of show people what I'm talking about. about here, but we have like the Criterion channel. Like, does it move when I do that? Does it scroll? Like, I can't look at two tabs at the same time. I think it does. So anyway, let's go to all films. This is like about $100. This is actually about $100 a year, or $13 a month. And look, you have 310 to
comparable to Prime.
Huh?
Comparable to Amazon Prime.
Yeah, comparable to Amazon Prime minus the free shipping, I guess. But
yeah,
but yeah, I see here's 310 to Yuma and 5 Against the House. We have 8.5. Great foreign film. 16 Days of Glory. That was a wonderful documentary. 24 Frames. This is alphabetical order. The 39 Steps. Alfred Hitchcock. And the 400 Blows. Francis Truffaut. So some interesting movies. A Dog's Life. Charlie Chaplin. The Adventures of Baron Munch. I've always had a hard time with that. But yeah, Terry Gilliam right there. Let's just scroll down a little bit. We have Ghost World from Terry Zwigoff, Gilda from Charles Vidor. So yeah, again, this will cost like $13 a month, or if you pay for the annual, which is for 1 year. There's the original a lot of Godzillas actually. They dumped a lot of Godzillas on here for some reason. The Gold Rush. We have both versions of the Gold Rush by Charles Chaplin.
Well, I'm surprised that I talk to people still that have never seen Sunset Boulevard. And I'm saying, you got to be kidding me. That's like part of American culture, you know?
It really is. So
it's such a great movie, you know?
Yeah, very, very great movie. So anyway, this is actually like the service that I probably use more than the others for this reason. Mr. Smith Goes to Washington is here by Frank Capra. Mulholland Drive by David Lynch. Murder by Roman Polanski. Oh, they uploaded. I'm going to have to add that to my list. So yeah, there are services out there that do this sort of thing, but I also know that they don't make the money that Netflix makes, and so I still tell people like, hey, when it comes to the classics, like me and my wife watched The Shawshank Redemption yesterday, her first time, by the way. But unless you wanted to pay like a rental fee, no one was streaming it. So we popped in the Blu-ray disc, and it probably looked better anyway. So
you know what else I'm noticing? That's kind of a weird thing, because now they have movies on YouTube and sometimes you can get those free. You can rent, but you can also get them free with commercials. Mm-hmm. And I find a lot of times, I don't know if people are not sponsoring them, but I have watched those free with commercials and watched it all the way through with no commercial.
Yeah, usually.
And I don't have RedTube or anything, I just watch them. So I think that's kind of interesting.
Oh yeah, Tubi, Pluto TV, Retro Crash for classic 80s anime. They have some commercials, but it's really not a lot, and it's free. So, and it's actually most of the time what they do is they put the commercials, like they front load it at the beginning.
Yeah.
So,
by the way, if anyone out here is a fan of 1960s music, there is a great, and this has been, I first saw it years ago, and I just recently watched a documentary called The Wrecking Crew. Have you seen that? Oh, is that fantastic? If you guys are at all interested in 1960s music, this documentary is all about studio musicians in the 60s. And these guys did the music for everybody. All these, everyone makes fun of the Monkees saying they're not a real band. It turns out most of these 60s bands didn't play their music on their records.
Right. It was a big con, really. Like,
yeah.
It was kind of like the quiz show, scandal, where it was like people were watching like, oh my gosh, this person's like on a winning streak, and then it's like you found out later on like, well, no, they kind of decided which person would be more popular to watch, and they gave them the answers, and it was all rigged, but they got away with it because at the end of the day it's like, hey, we claim to be in the entertainment business.
That was a good movie too, that
Robert Redford movie. Well, he wasn't in it, he directed it, but yeah, that with Ray Fiennes, Noah.
Yes, it was.
You guys are live. It's like, yes, we are. And Lisa's here too. Thank goodness I never had to deal with Uber Pool. Well, I always ignored Uber Pool. I mean, I did it a few times, but it was pretty apparent very, very early on that Uber Pool was like not worth my time. Ken Jeong, they made a new Lady and the Tramp. Yep, on Disney Plus. Yep. So Dave says, greetings to my two favorite Uber tubers from Liverpool. Are we Uber tubers anymore, though? That's like the big question. We talk about like the major stories, but we're not giving Uber advice anymore. In fact, we both seem to be pretty vocal. Like it's not really worth doing unless it's just play money.
Yeah.
That's it's like I feel like that song from the Muppets. Like, am I a man or am I a Muppet? It's like, am I an Uber tuber or am I just a YouTuber?
Well, even Dustin is doing more the entertainment aspect of
Right.
showing the videos and all. There just isn't much going on out there that to share any longer.
Yeah. Yep. And even if there was, I mean, what would honestly change? When was the last time we talked about like a price raise or something like really improving with drivers? Like it's always funny because like I kind of almost feel a little bit like the old days because now Uber's offering like time off pay and they're offering sick pay, and when are they doing it? Well, they're doing it when they're getting sued. It's like that's typical Uber. Like unless they're getting legally challenged, they're not going to do anything right by you. So let's see here. Robin says,
Lisa, what you have to do is get yourself one of those SUVs as a third seat and block off the middle seat. Make your people sit, or get a van and make them sit way in the back. Or maybe they can crawl in your trunk. Get an old 1972 station wagon and have them sit in that jump seat they used to have. I'm sorry, you don't know what I'm talking about. She's saying that her back seat's only a foot behind her. Why are they opening it up again?
Oh, yeah. Well, Well, that would be one way to deal with that problem. Like, yeah, there's
put up a plastic sheet like they do at a lot of the stores.
Well, I mean, Robin here said that Uber pool is done in Vegas, too risky with 6 feet social distancing unless we put second rider in trunk, which that's going to be interesting. Like when, not that Uber and Lyft ever really shut down, but as we start reopening and Uber and Lyft will clearly want those passengers back, like, there's still going to have to be some social distancing. It's like, that's going to be hard to do with Uber. I mean, I actually, by the way, anticipate a huge congestion nightmare because there's going to be Uber drivers saying, like, basically one person can get in the car and they sit right there. Like, I mean, these days of like 4 people calling an Uber and saying and cramming in, it's like, yeah, that's not going to happen anytime soon.
By the way, I just turned on my space heater if you guys are hearing a hum. It is so cold here. Kevin, you're going to love this. It snowed today here.
I heard.
Snowed for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, well, anyway, we have some from a little earlier. Mrs. Doubtfire in top 5. Did you ever see What Dreams May Come with Robin Williams? Yes, I did. Did you see that, Mark?
I'm sorry, what? I was reading it.
Did you ever see What Dreams May Come with Robin Williams?
I never did. No.
So yeah, that's an interesting one. That's a very I think that movie gets an unfair rap. Granted, I don't think it's great either. I understand why people don't like it, but that was very.
Kevin, what was that one that he made where when people died, they could extract your memories, and there were only like 6 people in the world that were authorized to like edit them because there was so much private.
Final Cut.
Remember that?
I believe that was called Final Cut.
Okay, that was an interesting movie.
That was an interesting one. So apparently, Ryson has a soft spot for Bicentennial Man. I kind of do too. Although I will say, with Bicentennial Man, I like the first half a lot more than I like the second half. Bicentennial Man was another interesting one where it's like, I think when he was the robot, it was funny and it was interesting, but then the more human he became, the less interesting it was. Anyway, Alberni, did you see Bicentennial Man? Where he was the robot?
I never saw it.
Okay, well.
I saw clips of it, but I never watched the whole film.
Yeah, I that was one where I kind of thought like, yeah, the first when he's a robot, it's good. When he becomes more human, it gets a little bit more bizarre. So Alberoni Hitchens, and I guess we could. Hey guys, do you think that Uber Pool will be around after the pandemic? Do you want to take this one first?
Yeah, I think that they're going to be around. It's going to be quite different. I've done some videos on this already that they're saying that more younger people, and by younger people under the age of 35, are considering private ownership of vehicles now. But it's also my experience. I've been around for a lot of decades now. People forget very, very quickly. And I think everybody that's really concerned right now, give it a year and they're going to be right back to their old habits. So, yeah, I do think rideshare is going to survive, just like restaurants are going to survive and stores are going to survive. Some things are going to fall to the wayside, but I think rideshare is going to make it.
They specifically asked Uber Pool.
Uber Pool, no. Uber Pool is done. stick a fork in it. It's done.
That's what I think. We've also got some love here for Jumanji, and Noah thinks that he was super creepy in 1 hour photo, and I kind of forgot about this. Mork and Mindy. Yeah. And
that was the start.
And Uberman Tampa says Uber Pool is done. Noah says he was great in the movie with Al Pacino where he played the serial killer in Alaska. Oh, you're talking about Insomnia. That was a Christopher Nolan film. Yeah, that was, I think, by the way, one of the biggest tragedies of that movie was that they ruined in the advertising that Robin Williams was the bad guy. Because it was pretty clear watching the movie that that was supposed to be a big reveal, that Robin Williams was the killer, but they had to put him on the poster, on the cover, and it's like, well, thanks for nothing. Unlike
was that De Niro? I thought that was Michael Corleone in that movie.
No, you're thinking about The Godfather.
No, yeah. I'm just calling him Michael Corleone. All right.
Or are you thinking about Heat?
About what?
Heat. That was also that's with De Niro and Al Pacino. But yeah, no, the Alaska movie that had Al Pacino, Hilary Swank, and Ron.
Well, what am I thinking of with Pacino? Okay, I forget it.
Well, what's the movie about?
I don't know. I didn't see it. That's why.
Okay, well then I
forget I said anything. Everyone just erase the past minute.
Okay. So, all right. Let's see what else is going on. Uber X, Uber XL, Uber Pool. Who in his right mind is still doing those? I don't know, Mark. Who in their right mind is still doing those?
Well, I commented there. I was doing the delivery until I got booted from the platform 2 or 3 times for just weird stuff. Not because I did anything wrong, but because of I suspect here's going to be the problem. They lay off a third of their staff or whatever. Think of all the mistakes that are already happening. How is that going to be multiplied when they have fewer people? It's been just weird stuff that, they said they didn't have my driver's license. What are you talking about? My driver's license? It hasn't changed in years. And then they needed my insurance. And I sent them the insurance. They reactivated me. And then within like 2 days, it deactivated me. And it's like the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. And so finally I said, to heck with it. I'm just tired. And I just gave up and I stopped delivering.
Well, okay. So Moose says, I heard the movie studios will be releasing new movies directly to DVD and streaming services if this situation goes on for a long time. What do you think? Well, sure. Certain movies that maybe you don't need the big screen experience to enjoy, they probably will do that. They've actually started doing that a little bit. They did that famously with Trolls World Tour. And Judd Apatow's next movie is going to go straight to streaming. So is that movie with that guy from Guardians of the Galaxy. I think it's called My Spy. Dave Bautista, that was his name. That's going to go fine. But for like Mulan, Black Widow, Tenet, Wonder Woman, the big budget movies, they're going to wait as long as they have to put those in theaters because they need that theater money. People are acting like theaters like, oh, because they were forced to shut down, like they lost their edge. It's like, no, they really didn't. Movie theaters are still very valuable to theaters because first you make money in the theaters, then a few months later you make some movie off the DVDs and the digital purchases and rentals, and then you wait another couple months still, and for all the people who are left behind, they'll subscribe to a streaming service and watch it there. But you take out the movie theaters, it's like you're taking out like a whole chunk of your income at that point.
Well, it's not just that. I mean, why do people go to movies? It's not necessarily to see the movie. They go to movie theaters because it's an experience. You get out of the house, you get to be with friends. People sometimes go places because they want to go places. I can cook a better meal at home than I can in a lot of restaurants. But I go out to the restaurant because what did George Costanza say once? Jerry, can I spend time at your house? Well, what are you going to do? I don't know. I'll watch TV. Why do you want to come over here then? I'm getting out of the house. I feel like I'm doing something. It's the same thing. I think it's a social activity to get out and about. And I think that's, when people back in the 40s were afraid that TV was going to kill movies, I think that they missed that thing. People don't, as we're finding out now, people don't want to be locked up inside.
Right. Exactly. So there you go. So Robin says no pool rides in Las Vegas, even if it's still an option on the app. Uber can't force this. Well, Uber won't offer that option. They won't. They have to. Hey, here's an interesting question. Do you think driver referrals are going to come back, or do you think Uber's
driverless?
No, driver referrals. Like, do you think because Uber and Lyft?
First of all, Robin, thank you very much. She just pledged $9.99. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Well, we have to.
Yeah. I just got a referral today. A referral. I just got a text saying that. Matter of fact, let's see if I can even find it. Saying I had a referral today. So Farron accepted my invitation to drive. I don't know what it means. I'll get like $5 out of it. But hey, it's a cup of coffee.
Yeah, but the Uber took away like, hey, we're ending referral bonuses. Like, I mean, you might get $5, but it's like the 100, the 75, the 500,
the 900 that people out in LA were getting. Crazy.
Those were good days. Do you think those are ever coming back, or do you think Uber's going to take this time to like really like, well, we've got enough drivers, we're not going to try to incentivize
it's a great question. It all depends on what happens to their rider model. If they start to need riders, it'll come back. When they no longer need riders, it'll disappear. It's like anything else, it's built on supply and demand.
Mm-hmm. Right. So yeah, pretty much. That's what I said. So, right, Lisa said, I missed most of what you guys said because my phone shut off. Oh, sorry. Don't worry. It's just random talking. So, let's see. I hate when it jumps like this and I lose my, Mark, are you still traveling for work?
No, I'm doing a lot of what I do, my super secret stuff. I'm doing a lot of it from home. Like I said, I did my first flight this past week, and it was just a crazy, crazy different experience. Slowly, as that need opens up again, and people are doing things face to face, I'll probably get back on the road.
Okay. Oh, Steve says, Uber or not, love watching you guys. Lisa has great stuff too. Yes, I agree. Let's see here.
I want to say something about that, because the other day, I almost hate to admit this tells you how much empty stuff goes into our heads. But there's a YouTube channel I sometimes watch, and this woman's name is Molly. I don't know if her name is Schuyler, Schuyler, and she's a competitive eater. And this woman is bizarre. She will eat like 20 frozen pizzas, and she'll do it in 12 minutes. Anyway, so she's one of those. And every now and then I'll just, Molly's on. I'll watch what she's doing here. And she weighs like all of 120 pounds. It's crazy. But anyway, the other day they had 3 of these competitive eaters were just BSing. And I'm watching this. After about 20 minutes, I thought, why am I watching this? And I thought, I'm watching it because it's just engaging with people. You kind of enjoy their personalities. I didn't really care about the content at that moment. So
Right.
I kind of suspect that that's what happens in these little sessions too. We're just having a good time. It's a bunch of people getting together. It's like getting together at a friend's house.
Yeah, pretty much. Yep. So Robin says, "What dreams may come was spooky. Made me think about heaven and hell in a different perspective. It was definitely, yeah, that was definitely spooky. And also, you guys are really good. So many Uber tubers out here in tuber world. I learned more here than in college." LOL. Thanks. Like, interesting comment, because we're not talking about stuff that people would share in college, are we?
Well, I think that's the point. The stuff that it's always been my. When people, just like kids always say, why do I have to learn this? I think what college does is it challenges you to think. And I know that's part of what, people probably get sick when I pontificate, but I like to think that I'm an analyst and I process things and I think about things. And I think that's what college does for us. It's not the facts that you learn in college. It's you learn how to apply things and what to do with things. And I think that's what we do in this channel. I love it. I've always said for as long as I've had my channel, I got the smartest viewers on YouTube. I really do believe that, because I think people are thinkers. And I think when people process and think, that's where they learn. Sometimes it's not about us delivering content or information. Content's the wrong word. It's not about us giving information. It's about us posing things in a way that makes people think and come to their own conclusions. I think that's why I look at it anyway.
Well, we're still sharing our own opinions, of course.
Well, of course.
Yeah, of course. It's our channel. So Steve says, in my opinion, I think Uber and Lyft has seen its day. Business travel will go down. Companies will go virtually with Zoom, and technology like that will take place of travelers and hotels overnight. I'm going to, well, I don't know, maybe Uber and Lyft might struggle because they weren't in a position to be, have people basically not wanting to take them for a year or so. But I mean, travel itself is going to come back. I mean, I lived through 9/11. I remember when people were like, people will never fly again. And it's like, well, we're flying again. So I think we're going to get back to it. But that is an interesting question. Like, I think one of them probably will go before this is all said and done. And I'm kind of leaning towards Lyft.
I think it'll be Trip.
Well, you can't say that because they already went under. That's cheating. That's absolutely right. But no.
How about hop, skip, drive straight to jail? I still don't know how those companies that cater to kids are dealing with this, because kids aren't going to school, kids aren't going to sporting events, kids aren't going to concerts. I'm talking about their school concerts. Kids aren't going places. They said, well, they're picking up homework. This is virtual. You don't have to, once you make that first trip to bring their stuff that they left at school, they don't need to go back and forth anymore. And I don't know where's Paula when you need her. She's the only one I know that drives for hop, skip, drive straight to jail. But those are the ones that I think are really, they've got to be suffering because kids aren't traveling right now.
Right. Well, okay, yeah, they probably will. But look, seriously, do you think either Uber or Lyft will fall under? I think Lyft is not in a great position to survive, to be honest. The only thing that they really have going for them right now is the fact that for some reason investors keep buying their stock for reasons I'm not entirely sure.
I'll tell you what I think. I think Lyft is a far more savvy company, and I don't understand why they're not growing bigger, because they make better collaborations. And I see the Lyft name around a lot more than I see Uber when I travel, and I see them doing partnerships with like the Hilton line, for example. I see them doing partnerships with Disney and the minivans, and they seem to me to be better managed on many levels, and yet their growth doesn't show that.
Maybe it's because Uber's become the verb. I'm kind of surprised that Lyft never had a marketing campaign that said "need a Lyft." I mean, maybe it was already trademarked, but it's like that. Oh, that kind of was like a no-brainer to me. So George says, with 30 million of unemployed, I don't think Uber needs more referrals. It's like, I mean, that's a good point. It also, by the way, is kind of like a warning shot to everyone out there that the gig economy is going to be unprofitable for you for a very, very long time, because as our buddy Chad, the gig economist, pointed out, he does Instacart and was doing good on Instacart for a very long time, but now there's like a 300% increase in drivers picking up Instacart shifts and orders, and it's like, that there's not enough to go around. So yeah, when rideshare and gig work does come back and the economy starts to reopen, yeah, there's going to be a lot of people getting on these platforms to make extra money, and not a lot of people are going to be making that money.
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting to see what happens and what opens up. I'll tell you what, I forgot who it was on my channel that said they bought Uber stock that couple of days when it dropped down to like $15.
Yeah.
And they said they bought it. Then I thought, man, what a great time to buy.
That would have been a great time to buy. But you know what? I was buying stock. I was buying stock. I mean, I'm probably going to start buying stock again soon. My finances are getting back on course. But yeah, I took like some of the stimulus money and stuff, and I bought like a bunch of stocks because the market had crashed. And I was buying like Disney at 80 and Coca-Cola at 38, and and Space at 12. I bought 100 shares of AMC at $2. It's now at like $4.50. So there's been quite a return on investment. So I can't complain too much. And for companies that ultimately might last a lot longer.
What I want to know is, outside of rideshare, what other companies, what long-term change are we going to see? And I'll give you an example of something that I think we're going to see because I'm doing it myself. And that is, I tried a couple of times now, 3 times, I think. I've done the grocery store thing, and not the app companies, but going directly to the store.
Right, the curbside.
Where I go online, I order everything from the store. I go there, I park, I call, I say I'm here. They bring it out, they put it in my car, and I go. You know what? I'm gonna, for $5 or whatever, to have someone take that hour out of my day and do my shopping for me. And it's not Instacart or something; it's the actual store doing it.
Right.
And the great thing about it, like today, they say don't tip our people. I gave him $5. I thought he had to come out in the rain and load my car up. That was worth it to me. I said, just don't tell him.
Right.
And I think those things are here to stay.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, this store that I went to, that I've been doing this at Pick and Save in Wisconsin, they did when they can't find the item you want, they will do a replacement item and they'll do a price match. And they've been doing things where they will take the store item that I buy and they'll take the brand name item and replace it, and they'll do a price match, which is going to if they do that even once or twice, it's going to more than offset the cost of this service, the $6 or whatever, to have my personal shopper, for crying out loud. I think some of that stuff is going to be an ongoing change. Yeah. So what do you guys think, everyone that's watching, when you think about the whole world, when this pandemic thing is all over, what's going to stick and what isn't? I already said, and it's been, now commented on here, that people have short memories, and a lot of this stuff they're probably going to forget about, the social distancing and all. But I think some things are just going to stick with them because people are realizing, hey, we can do this. This works.
Yeah. Well,
I'd like to hear your thoughts, Kevin, and anybody that's watching.
Well, I'd like work from home to become like a more common occurrence now. I mean, just looking at the traffic that we took off the road, how good it was for the environment. Heck, a lot of companies do that. They could even downsize on the real estate they have and save a lot of money that way. So I'd like to see that stick around. We'll just see if that actually happens, because I have a friend who has been working from home for 10 years of his life. and says the only thing that stops 60 to 70% of the jobs out there from being work from home jobs is that the companies don't trust the employees. So,
You mean to work from home?
yeah, like because they want to keep an eye on them.
Well, you could be right about that. I think it depends on the type of business. You know, um, the work that I do, and you kind of know a little bit about what I do. You know, one facet of it, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of irrelevant because I'm largely self-employed,
Right.
and the fact that I can even take what I do and segue into consults and stuff is kind of amazing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I have. So in that regard, I think if you work in a business that is results driven and you can provide the results from home, I don't think they really are going to care that much. You know, they got to find a way. They got to establish their metric and see if it's being met.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So Payman says, hey, the band is back together again. Well, not really. It's just half of the band, really. But, you know.
Yeah, Paul and Ringo were the only two that are still here. So.
Right. Exactly. Robin says, I want to remain in IC, but they have no idea how to really treat ICs. But the experience was overall educational. Yeah, and that's why they keep getting into legal problems, because I think we both agree that they definitely push their luck on what is an IC and what isn't. She also says Uber's referral program is what put Sidecar out of business. They had to monopolize drivers first, then on to monopolize the industry. Violation of antitrust acts, Sherman, and as amended later. Well, unfortunately, because Lyft is around, they can't quite claim that they're monopoly. But plus, I mean, I think, I don't know, monopolies are really interesting because people actually have different definitions of what they think a monopoly is. Like I, for example, call like Apple and Google monopolies all the time, and they're like, well, why is that a monopoly? It's like they have competitions there. It's like, yeah, but when you really, well, let's use Apple because they're like the most obvious. It's like, yeah, well, here's the thing. Apple has the device that they make, and then they have the operating system, which they also make, and they have the store, which they control. And then they decide which programs go into that store and what you can and can't do on your device. Like that to me is a monopoly. So, but I don't know if I would exactly call Uber a monopoly because they do have Lyft, but it's certainly a duopoly because both the companies ape each other whenever they do. So there's no real difference between them.
Well, you're certainly right about that. And which makes me wonder if that's another reason that Uber wants, and I've speculated on this for a long time, but this is just another aspect of it, why they want to be recognized not as a rideshare company, but as a technology company. That could be part of it. I don't know.
Yeah, that could be too. So Steve says virtual is cheaper and safer during these times. This pandemic is far from over. Companies will save money during 9/11. This technology wasn't available. No, I actually agree. Oh heck, I remember. I think the PlayStation 2 was only a year old when 9/11 happened, something like that. George says, like Mark said, people are quick to forget. Rideshare is here to stay. 30 million of unemployed means people are going to lose their cars, and Uber or Lyft are going to have more customers. That's an interesting point. That is a very interesting point. Any additional comments, or do you just agree with that?
I don't know.
Wait and see, right? So Robin says, Trip is not going anywhere. I'm so embarrassed. I was an influencer. I was duped to Hop Skip won't get another chance in Las Vegas. Highly doubtful anyway. Well, Trip isn't actually it was never operating. And I guess I can probably say this now. But after I did the interview with before I did the interview with Taha Abbasi and Nick, I was actually in talks with Bob McNulty's people. He was going to come on my channel to do an interview. And then I did that interview, and they haven't returned my phone calls. They keep saying we're just discussing with legal. And I also noticed they took their little group meetings that you and I went to a couple of them. They no longer have them live and public anymore. Now they do it private with like 5 people or so. So,
If I can comment on that, I'll
Sure.
tell you that told me all I needed to know about Tripp. When Taha left, and now it turned into a bicker session between Bob and Taha. And I thought, really? This is going to be a national company, and you're worried about one employee that's sour on you right now? Once I saw that, I thought, they're done. They're done before they even started, because someone that really knows where they're going, they have their head in the game. They have, that would be like Walt Disney, some animator left and started talking trash about him when he went over to, started drawing Bugs Bunny at Warner Brothers or something. And then Walt getting all bent out of shape and focusing on that. No, that doesn't happen with successful companies. So once they started that bickering between the two of them, and I don't know how many of you are aware of what was going on, but, they had Taha was watching live when Bob was having his sessions, and they were commenting. And one of my least favorite Uber tubers was there, running back and forth, trying to be a little spy and reporting on and what he was witnessing in the rooms. And I thought, oh my God, really? This is what this company's spending its time on? Once I saw that, I realized, and as Kevin is kind of, giving you a view behind the curtain, Taha has been in contact with us, and I just thought, I like the guy, but I didn't think there was anything to learn from him anymore. Unless you just like the soap opera of it, you want to see behind the scenes, what his little, why he was so upset. And quite frankly, I'm not all that interested. I was for a while because I wanted to know what was going on with the company, but it became apparent to me that this company, I'm not spending any time with it. I don't think it's going to go anywhere, and that's why.
I'm dubious it's going to go anywhere as well. I was very interested in what he had to say, and I also wanted to kind of show, because some people like on my channel, like, and I'm sure you got this too, like they talked about Tripp. It's like, you got to understand about Tripp, and it's like I kind of wanted to see, like, well, I'm going to talk to both these men, and we'll let people decide what they think about Tripp after that. But again, I noticed, like, after Taha did his interview with me, Bob didn't want to talk anymore. And for that matter, I also noticed a lot of the people who were hardnet Tripp supporters stopped commenting on my channel. Like, once I did that video, like, it's kind of like, well, see, here's what's going on with the money right in front of everyone's face. So, Mark, just to let you know, when someone has a question, I'll post it on the thing so we can answer them live. Anyway, like this one. Hey, Mark, what charity can a Lyft driver donate to through the app that gets hidden in drivers' gross earned incomes? I have 20.
Yeah, well, the whole reason they're doing that, I don't know what the charity is, and I suppose that they have to post that somewhere in their annual reports or somewhere. They have to post their donations. But, that is kind of a sneaky way of getting their corporate tax deduction without having to actually pay it. They're making other people pay it. And then, you can almost say that, McDonald's is the same thing with Ronald McDonald House and stuff, but I think that's a real beneficial, thing that they're supporting and they're running. But when they just say, yeah, round up and we'll take that money and give it to a charity, and then they take the corporate tax deduction for that, it's kind of creepy.
Yeah, exactly. So Robin says,
in the end, you can say it's helping people. Okay, if it's helping people, it's helping people, and maybe we should not look a gift horse in the mouth. But it's just when Lyft takes a credit for helping people when it's not really their money.
Right. I'm always suspicious when, like, the donation. I always look at it more favorably. It's like, hey, do you want to donate? It's a tax deductible, because it's like, yeah, that's your money that's going there. But then it's like, oh, hey, give us some money and we'll donate it to you for you on your behalf. And it's like,
now you just raised a good question. I don't know this, or maybe I'm jumping to conclusions. But if I donate to Lyft, McDonald's, whatever. I'm assuming I can take a deduction, and now when they take that money and spend it, can they double dip with a tax deduction for charitable causes?
Well, the tax deduction can probably be dipped, but not by one person.
I mean, that money was donated to them in the first place, so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they can't take the tax deduction.
Yeah, I guess so. So Robin says, I did not sign up to drive for Trip, only influencer for $149. No one should pay a company to market for them. They should pay us. Trip in trouble. Well, they're also still in trouble because people keep spelling it TRYP, and that's not how you're supposed to be spelling it, actually. So talk about like really hammering in the branding and then having to change it, and no one's really doing that. So rideshare.
Yeah, they changed, didn't they?
Yeah. So rideshare source driver says, will we run out of food to the point to roast each other to eat?
Yes, and then I responded with 2 words, Soylent Green.
Mm.
Which, that's another one, Kevin. You talk about classic movies. Everybody makes a reference, and I'll bet hardly anyone actually watched the film.
Probably not.
Which is a weird movie, but it has 2 fantastic actors in that.
Yeah. Robin said, I was excited at first until Taha did his first damage control video. I knew what was coming after that. I sent Bill Crosby messages, and all they wanted to do was stroke each other's egos.
Yeah, those videos are kind of funny when you watch those guys together, isn't it?
Yeah. Kevin, sorry I flooded your chat with questions when they were on, but I was mad and really wanted them to answer questions. Are you talking about the questions in this live chat or another live chat? I'm assuming you mean this one, but that's fine. I mean, I don't care that you're asking people questions. That's not an issue. It's just when I realize it's like a question to someone else, I just don't post it on here. Robin writes, I asked for a refund in light of the pandemic. I got a message to contact support at Trip Rides. I did, no response. Well, then you've got to contact your bank. Romeo says, you guys think Tesla will move out of California? I don't know. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. A lot of businesses move out of California, but Elon Musk, I mean, they're asking because Elon Musk is getting into a pissing contest with California. He doesn't, he does not like that, that, hold on, I got that, how can I put this? He doesn't like how California is slow to reopen just everything. But I think he's going about the wrong way. Also, he's got shareholders to deal with. There it is. And so, but now I did want to highlight this, and this is how ugly it's getting. Always takes a moment to do this, but like this is like Lorena Gonzalez, one of a assembly woman, and this was her response to Elon Musk threatening to leave California. In my opinion, a very very childish response. So yeah, there's a chance that Elon gets pissed and decides to leave California, but he's also got shareholders, and who knows if the shareholders will be okay with leaving. But do you have any idea what's going on with Tesla, Mark, or are you kind of?
No, I have to plead ignorance on this one. I really don't follow it. Tesla is one of those things that I'm going to say a word here that I don't want you to take too literally, but it's almost like a cult. They're either you love Tesla or you're completely oblivious to Tesla. And I fall in the category that's kind of oblivious to Tesla. Now that may be changing because they're getting into more affordable vehicles, but Tesla was always one of those things that it was almost like a Lyft in many ways, in a trip rather, in many ways. And they made so many grand claims, and there was not even a car yet. You remember those days?
Yeah.
And I for so long you didn't even know if Tesla was a real thing. So I don't know, because I don't know if they're it's sort of like the Uber thing. I don't know if they're financially viable just because of all the investors and all the people who are kind of in love with the idea, or if it's actually a profitable company. And I don't follow it enough to have the answer to that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I know a little bit about Tesla. I will say at least they have a product that they make. But my biggest thing with Tesla has always been like they're an odd company because the very people that their cars are designed to help are the very people who can't typically afford them.
Can't afford them.
So that's always been a little interest to me. Let's see here. Rideshare source driver says rideshare service via suspended service for safety. Oh, I didn't. Let's see here. I can't find that story, but interesting. Bronc Dog said Elon is mad at Alameda County. So yeah, it's probably a negotiation tactic that's going out in public right now. So rideshare source driver says the idea of electric car is great, but Elon performs terrible execution. Well, the only reason I don't have the electric car now is because, I have to drive to Sacramento to see my parents a lot, and the cars get about 200 to 300 miles per charge, and then you have to charge them for like 8 hours. It's like, well, I need at least 600 miles to do that one-way trip safely. So, that's the only reason I really haven't got the electric yet.
Oh, there's a lot of reasons I don't have it.
Yeah.
The cost of it, when you figure in the cost for that extra $10,000, whatever, I can buy a lot of gasoline. And, I'm not sure how well batteries hold up in cold weather. And, some of the comfort that you can get in a comparable car, an internal combustion engine car. I'm actually kind of amazed, and I've said this many, many times, I'm kind of amazed that internal combustion engines are even still a thing. Because when you think about it, they have been around now for something like 140 years. They've been around a long time. They're just so doggone efficient, and the fuel is so abundant. Every time they say, we're running out of oil, it doesn't happen. Back in the 70s, they said that we're running out of oil. What's that been, 50 years now? And they keep finding oil. So they say that, necessity is the mother of invention. When the time actually comes, maybe that we don't have enough oil for gas, you will see things change very, very, very quickly. On here, Rideshare Source just said hydrogen fuel cells are the way to go. Yeah, hydrogen fuel cells are the way to go, but they're not a thing yet. They're fantastic because the only thing that they don't pollute water. You burn hydrogen, and the result is water. The problem is hydrogen is extremely volatile, and you can create them with hydrogen fuel cells. Then what? Then you got all these millions of cars driving around. Basically, you have millions and millions of tiny little Hindenburgs. Is that what you want?
Yep. Rideshare driver says Tesla is moving to China. Obviously, GM moved to China. Toyota and Mazda manufacturers in America. It's all reversed. Yeah, it's interesting how like some people say like I want to buy American cars. Like, well, American cars are made overseas. Like Japanese cars are made here. But I don't think Tesla would move to China though. Just knowing Elon Musk. Also,
Roy says I should stop talking about Tesla. My ignorance is glaring. I told you that. I said that at the beginning, that I know nothing about Tesla. I was just telling you my interpretation, that's the way I perceived it, son.
Well, and I'm going to say, and I'm sorry, Roy, but you kind of walked into this one a little bit. I will say this kind of also supports the whole thing that Tesla might be a cult a little bit, because what do cult members do when you disagree with them on something? Instead of saying, hey, I think you might be a little misinformed about this. Have you considered reading this? This is what it's like, this is what's actually going on from what I see. They say, you guys have no clue. Do your homework.
Yeah.
They're going to be the most valuable company in the world. And it's like, yeah, bite me.
You're
like,
exactly right. That's the cult, right? Yeah.
I officially do not care what your argument is anymore. So, anyway, have you seen the name of Elon's new baby? WTF looks like it comes from Star Wars. Oh yeah. So guys, yeah, let's
What is it? I don't know the name. I don't like I said it.
I'll show you. So see this highlight right here? That's his name.
That is a name?
That's a name apparently. In today's
That's sort of like when Prince changed his name to that little symbol.
Right, which that's why that's what started the. So just a little bit of hit music history for you guys folks. Well, here I'll pull back for a second, but Prince was having an issue with his record company. He signed like an exclusive record contract or something with Warner Brothers Music years ago, and he decided he did not like the direction of his career. He didn't like how he felt that Warner Brothers was controlling his art, and so he decided he didn't want them to make money off of his name anymore. So he went from being a name to being this. It's called the love symbol or something like that, but this was his name for a while. And it actually, by the way, it's really funny because I've got like an iPod Classic, and some of the Prince albums actually has this symbol as the artist's name. Like,
didn't he actually have a guitar that looked like that?
He did. and nobody really knew how to pronounce that. So on the radio, after they would play one of his songs, they would say, so that was the artist formerly known
as Prince.
And so that was like the first joke. But then after Prince got out of his contract with Warner Brothers, he started calling himself Prince again.
Yeah.
And that's what started the wave of jokes where when his songs started getting played, many DJs started saying that was the artist formerly known as Prince. So yeah, there's a little music history for you. Like, you know, what the heck? It's a pointless live stream. We're just having fun. So
yeah, I don't know why people do that to their children. Why people intentionally, you know, and you can say, well, he's Elon Musk kid. Yeah, well, is that what you want to be known as the rest of your life, Elon Musk kid? You don't want to have your own identity. And when that's your identity, it's a cruel joke. You know, and it's just like when people I want my child to have, you know, a unique name because they're going to be a unique individual. Well, you know, you're also setting them up for a lifetime of constantly having to explain themselves and constantly being having their name misspoken. And I think sometimes those things backfire.
Yeah, well, my brother had some friends who, you know, their last name was Lee because, you know, they're Asian, and they had a kid, and I guess I don't know if they were stoned or something like that, but they decided they were going to name their son Elvis, and his middle name was going to be Prez, and his last name was going to be Lee.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, that's something that you joke about for a minute, and then you come to your senses, and you.
Well, I went to college with a girl named Candy Barr. Her last name was Bahar, first name Candy with a Kandi. Candy Barr. Why would you do it? She was a beautiful girl, but she had to put up with so many bad, offensive jokes because her name was Candy.
If anyone's last name out there is Duke, please don't name your child Daisy.
I knew a kid named Peter Little. I mean, I have known more. My wife went to school with a girl named Robin Krapp. When your last name's Crap, do you name your kid after an animal? I don't know why people do these things.
I don't know either. It's bizarre. So anyway, Reagan back. Just stop talking about Tesla. Your ignorance is glaring. Well, we'll talk about whoever we want to because it technically we're on my channel, but this live stream usually winds up on his channel at some point. So yeah, we'll talk about whatever we want to. Let's see here. Yeah, and Uberman Tampa said it best. Wait, no, that's the wrong one. This is the one. You can't pronounce it. Yeah. So there you go. Oh, and hey, Steven, how you doing? So, could you imagine signing a loan agreement? See, and this is actually making our point because here we are making fun of this poor baby's name, and he's not even a week old. Like this is a disaster. This is going to be a disaster for that kid. Yeah. So anyway, Payman says that Elon is saying he may move Tesla to Nevada, and there's a politician here running on renewing nuclear power research. Yeah, nuclear power. Nuclear power is kind of one of those same things. I think if it wasn't just so destructive, we'd probably be using more of it. But nuclear power.
Well, it's not even the destruction. I think the biggest problem with nuclear power is disposing of nuclear waste.
Yeah.
I think if they could solve that. Other than Chernobyl, there haven't been a lot of accidents, but then Chernobyl was huge. When it does happen, it's ugly,
Well, also there was that accident in Japan where that soured a lot of people.
All right, you're right. Yep, there was.
But that was also aided by, a tsunami. So, that was pretty extreme. So, let's see here. Writer Lisa says, I love Prince. I have several of his so here's a name you can give your child, Seymour Butts. Seymour, yeah, classic, never gets old.
Isn't that some porn thing online?
No, that came from The Simpsons. That came from The Simpsons.
I think it's a porn thing online. I really do.
I'm not actually going to look that up though. So
good.
I'm just not. I'm not.
I just realized how I could set you up.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Well. Good luck. I think I am the king of setting up other Uber tubers for practical jokes at this point.
You were recently. You had a good one on April Fool's Day, didn't you?
Oh yeah, like everybody enjoyed that. Everybody enjoyed it. We got a good laugh out of that one. So Roy says, name my kid Chevy for Ford. I don't think I get where you're going with it, but I don't think it works. So not only a loan agreement, but imagine filing court papers, deeds, ID look. Yeah, like I said, that whatever Elon's kid's name is, here's a funny thing. I read that even him and his wife have disagreements on how to pronounce it. Like, it's just like, wow, what a disaster this is. But yeah, that poor kid. So anyway, hey, we've been talking for 2 hours.
I was just looking at that. We should maybe start to wrap things up at some point. I'm enjoying it though.
Yeah. No, I was, well, maybe we'll do it more often, just, shoot the ship, as they say.
Just no theme, just the BS stuff.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
People seem to be enjoying it. We've got 26 people here. So, yeah, maybe in the future we'll do more. We'll pick like a topic and then we'll see where it goes. But yeah, today was just like a total random. And I definitely like StreamYard. I think we're going to use StreamYard again in the future. So, and anyways, what's this one do? Oh, okay. Not a big deal.
Yeah, we'll have to try it when we get 4 people in. Have we thought about, speaking of which, usually we do this one behind closed doors, but we might as well talk about this in the open.
Yeah.
Have we thought about who our new guest is going to be next time around? If you don't want to say it, don't say it. I thought we had an idea or two.
We did have a few ideas. Like let's see here. I'm curious, folks. Who we already had Dustin as one of the guests.
Yeah.
Who else would you guys want to be on the podcast? Because Cecily,
Adam the Woo.
Adam's not gonna come on this. He
No.
would not know what we're talking. He uses Uber. He's like he won't even watch my channel because I make him feel guilty about using Uber. So he basically tips the driver more money, but he can't watch my channel. So yeah, it's he would. I mean, look, that'd be fun, but from like a guest star perspective, but it's it's kind of like getting Alf on Hollywood Squares. It's like it's a fun idea until you actually have to until you have to ask Alf a question, and then you realize it's not as much fun as you thought it was going to
be. Okay, let's see if we can get Mr. Beast on.
Yeah, so we could have Uberman Tampa on. Like, yeah, he could definitely be one of them.
Yeah.
And we talked briefly about Rideshare Lisa.
Yeah.
Let's see here. We might have brought Peterson back, but he's still recovering from his stroke.
Yeah.
He's doing better, folks, by the way. He's doing much better. Maybe Driver Sensei was another person that I was definitely considering extending the invitation to. What about No Crybaby Lifestyle? No, we want to invite relevant.
Yeah, that wouldn't work.
No, that wouldn't work.
That would not work.
That would not work at all. Like that, he doesn't play nice with others. So
I like him. He's a fun guy, but I you know what? I think he would agree with it. I think that he would feel penned in.
No, I don't like him, and I agree with you. So, let's see here. So yeah, Driver Sensei may be one of the. We could probably have Dark Road Run on here at one point. He would be interesting. Maybe.
Yeah.
We'll see. So yeah. No, we've got some options out there. Like I think right now the biggest problem is there's not a lot to talk about in terms of rideshare right now.
There's not.
There's really not. We could certainly talk about the layoffs and everything, and I certainly have been, but it's like, okay, sucks people are losing their jobs, but it's not necessarily a rideshare topic per se.
Right.
I mean,
yeah, once you get past how to apply for unemployment and how there's no jobs available and everybody's doing deliveries, after that it kind of falls flat. And every now and then you see a few stories, but they're not. It's just a different take on the same old story. And I don't know. What do you guys think? All of you that are watching right now, are there topics that we're missing? Or are you kind of just agreeing, yeah, let's head in different directions?
Yeah. I mean, another topic we could discuss, of course, is the scooters basically being taken off the road, which I didn't think were going to be ever that successful anyway. But
no, I always thought that was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, the electric scooter business is certainly running out of steam.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. The more we talk about this, the more I wonder if Uber can make it. When every one of their expansion things seems to be not working. The most enjoyable thing. Are you guys still hearing me? Even though I went back. The most interesting thing to me are self-driving. To be honest with you, I don't see why that would be exclusive to rideshare. It seems to me crazy. Why would you limit, some technology like that if they ever got it working to rideshare? Doesn't make sense. Wouldn't everybody get one?
Yeah. Well, Payman says, I think yes, there is stuff you're missing. Well, help us out, Payman. Help us out here. This is why we ask, like, what are we missing? Because it doesn't. I don't know what we would talk about right now. The unemployment, the people getting laid off, and actually, most of our viewers don't even like it when I talk about Uber laying off people because, I'm sending sympathy to the enemy, and it's like Uber employees are not our enemies; they're just working their jobs. The executives are your enemy.
Well, I think there's a psychological aspect to this. You keep talking about that type of stuff, and it gets depressing, and people don't want to come and watch a channel where all you do is talk about doom and gloom.
Okay. Oh, Payment's gonna share one with us. So let's.
We're waiting. We're at the edge of our seat, Payment.
We're on the edge of our seats. This is going to be so much fun. It's going to be so much fun.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting with bated breath.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Here's. I have this empty bottle. That's why my breath is bated. Breath is bated. Actually, this little bottle has just been. I don't know why it's been sitting on my table in front of me for a long, long time. It's never been. I mean, it was full at one time, but it's been a long time since it's been full. It sits here.
Okay.
Every now and then I grab it. Did he come up with his reason yet?
You know how drivers are always complaining about how entitled riders act?
Yes, we know that.
Well, why are they not hypocrites for taking unemployment?
Because they have to feed their family.
They got to feed their family, and they're losing work. Maybe that's why.
I think that's different than feeling entitled.
Yeah,
I have talked about driver entitlement, and people get really mad at me when I talk about it. That they don't expect. They forget. Drivers sometimes forget the person that you're picking up is paying you. And sometimes you don't expect to give the same courtesy that you expect from them, and they're paying for the service. I think it's wrong for people to look at the rider as the enemy, because they get mad at Uber, so they kind of blame the rider.
Well,
but whenever I bring that up, oh boy, do I get the thumbs down and the crap on my channel.
Well, I think if you're going to do this, you should have good customer service with the drivers. I think when people say entitled riders, I mean there's also because there's a difference when someone comes in the car and they say, "Hey, can we do the drive-through on the way home and get something to eat?" And I would usually say like, "Oh yeah, sure, we could do that." You're asking nicely, and we're on a surge and everything. So but when people come in the car and they say, and I have had people say this, where it's like, "Hey, I need you to go to the drive on the way home, and don't complain because I'm paying you." And it's like,
okay, see that attitude? I'd say, I'm sorry, you're paying me for the ride, not for time through a drive-through. I'm paid by miles, and if they treated me that way.
Right. So I think when they say driver entitlement, they're talking about people who literally treat you like the dirt on their shoe. I think when people are nice about it, then most of the time the driver should be happy to that's my thought. But
I just realized that my computer has not been plugged in all this time. For 2 hours I've been running off battery.
Oh, okay. Taman says they knew that they were not paying unemployment. Well, yeah, you could also, and I'm gonna say this honestly because I actually kind of agree with this. I will say it's an unpredictable time, and so that's why they never anticipated so many people, like the ridership plummeting 85%. But at the same time, I've kind of been warning people, you get deactivated at any time. You actually need to be, if you're going to do this, you need to be prepared for that day when you just can't work anymore. And if anything, to show just how few Uber drivers were truly prepared to not work. Because this is basically like being deactivated from Uber in a strange way.
I agree with Payment 100% on this one.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
They weren't paying unemployment. They knew that. And the fact is, when they say, well, I'm not an independent contractor, I don't feel like it. Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how you feel or how you perceive it. Right. You were, at that moment you were, because whether it's right or wrong, whether you're categorized wrongly, improperly, is irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
You were. I'm going to say this too. I'll tell you another topic I wanted to talk about. I went to, and I made a video, but I never posted it. I went to a Chili's restaurant near me and ordered on the app. And they said, come pick it up they're so precise, between 5:31 and 5:36. I said, okay, I got there. I waited an hour, and there were so many bad things going on there. And they said, well, we want you to step outside. We want everyone over here. So if you're not in your cars, because if you're in your cars, we don't know which one we talked to already or not. I'm thinking, you got to be kidding me. I come to get food and you're not even going to bring it to my car. And it was cold. It was like 40 degrees. And people don't come here to stand outside for an hour when they go to pick up their food at Chili's. They're supposed to carry it out to you when you park at the spot. But here's the thing I'm getting at. 2 drivers. I saw 2, what was it? I don't know, but they were, what service has the green bag?
The
food delivery. The food delivery.
Oh, no, the green, that's Uber Eats, right? Uber Eats.
Not Uber Eats.
Grubhub?
Might be Grubhub, but there were 2 of them there.
Or Instacart.
It's not Instacart because there was food delivery.
No.
If they would have told me, Uberman Tampa, if they would have told me they're an hour behind, that's one thing. They didn't. Yeah. And I'm thinking these poor delivery drivers, this is their livelihood. And if they have to stand here for an hour, that's an hour they can't be picking up from other restaurants. That's an hour they can't be servicing other people. And the other thing is one woman sitting there, and people like this irritate me when they're holier than thou. That bugs me more than anything. And she's saying, well, at my company, I tell people, well, you just have to be patient because do you want my employees to die? It's better my employees die. I'm saying, well, first of all, just because we have a pandemic doesn't mean your employees are going to die. Secondly, that's kind of an arrogant attitude to have. And guess who was standing there without a mask? This woman that was talking so smart, Alec. And anyways, and I'm thinking to myself, but you act like you're having empathy. You're not having empathy for this person that has to make a living here picking up food for somebody else. When this restaurant fails, you're failing the customer, but you're also failing this middleman that they have an agreement with them, And I felt so bad for these 2 delivery people that were waiting.
Yeah, I can see that. So payment continues. I think they're all adding just as entitled because they knew they weren't paying in, and they were taking UI unemployment funds from people who did. Well, I still think entitled is the wrong. I don't know if entitled's the wrong. Here's a tricky thing. They didn't pay into it, and yet they're taking from it, and so I don't agree with that. Again, but it's a unique circumstance. I think when you get to a situation where someone is out of money, are not getting money, and they will do what they can to feed their family. I don't know if I have a hard time saying that makes you entitled ever, because it's like you're trying to do what you have to survive. Like, I don't know. Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I think people were deceiving themselves, and they were listening to some people. I'm not going to mention names because we all know that Uber Tubu thinks he's God. They listen to some people who would say, oh, you're entitled to this. Yeah, just our opinion saying you're entitled and being legally entitled are 2 completely different things. However, I'm going to say this. If the government now says, well, because of these conditions, you can apply for unemployment, you would almost have to be a fool not to. If someone says you can do it, it's just like when people let's look at the other side of the coin. When people said, well, President Trump, he's so irresponsible because he filed for bankruptcy. But the law said you could. And so that's how he kept his business going and kept people employed for a while. You might not agree with it, then change the laws. Don't be mad at the drivers. Be mad at the politicians that said that they can apply for this. Personally, I have a hard time telling people when they cannot work because of what our government imposed upon them. They said you can't work. I have a hard time saying you can't collect unemployment either because they got to eat. And if you're saying they can't work, how are they going to eat?
Exactly. By the way, apparently Instacart and Shipped have greed bags. So
does Instacart pick up at restaurants though? I thought they were shopping.
They're mainly I don't know if they pick up at restaurants, to be honest.
Well, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. I'll look back at my video and I'll see.
And it says, my point is federal minimum wage is $7.25 in Nevada, but drivers knew they could make more, but they had to give up on unemployment. I mean, yeah, well, still not sure where the entitlement comes in, but so anyone here drive deliver? Probably not. And Robin says Apple's and Oregon years into unemployment. States should not discriminate now. I think this topic's getting. I mean, I will say now I'm definitely seeing how this could definitely be
a good topic, yeah.
on the podcast. So that's actually so point proven. But I mean, well, one of the. But I mean, here's what's interesting about this topic, though. This is kind of like what we're really pitching here is a moral argument. I mean, legally you're allowed to do, but morally, should you or should you not? That's where it gets really, really messy.
Mm-hmm.
It starts getting personal too, because again, we're talking about people needing to eat here, and I mean, and the thing. I will say, I'm kind of hoping people will learn this, not just rideshare drivers, but everyone. And the value of having a slush fund after all this.
Yeah.
Like, because if everyone should be taken, like, basically, if this is like people losing jobs on a mass scale, and it's like they always say, have 6 months of a slush fund in case something happens. And granted, this was extremely unpredictable, but you know what? Your factory closing one day is just as entirely unpredictable. Or heck, you're driving for Uber, you're making $3,000 a week, and then before you know it, you get an email one day saying, "Hey, we got a complaint about you. You're gone, and you have no savings now."
Or a tornado, or a hurricane, or a flash flood, or something that takes out your business or your company. Or, every now and then, it fortunately doesn't happen to everybody, but sometimes you have a heart attack. And that can be unexpected, so.
Yeah, okay. So I will never think people who dip from unemployment are hypocrites. I think it's a bad thing to publicly shame people for being on unemployment, especially when it's circumstances beyond their control. We could definitely have a conversation, though, about whether or not the government should have bailed out Uber drivers when Uber and Lyft didn't lift a finger to help them, and I certainly have talked about that. Mm-hmm. On this channel. Because I think that's I have a hard time just seeing. I just have a hard time getting mad at people who are basically just trying to make a living.
And if anyone's a hypocrite, it's Dara, who goes on and talks about, the government, you should help, you should give unemployment. I think, wait a minute, you $100 million man. You're the hypocrite. You're the company that wasn't preparing for this. That you say, I think that's so hypocritical when you say, I'm going to support my people, and you do it by having everybody else do the actual support. That bugs that. It's sort of like what we talked about earlier. Taking the credit for, donating to a charity when you're donating someone else's money. Right. And it's the same thing with this. He was saying, "Oh yeah, I'm really defending my drivers." If you're defending your drivers, why were you not paying unemployment all this time? Instead, the way he perceives defending your drivers is to say, "I'm going to tell the government they should pay my drivers money." That's how I'm sticking up for. And some people buy into it. And that's the unfortunate thing. There are some drivers that buy into it, and so I guess that's my answer.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I also, by the way, think the unemployment is really why California decided to sue Uber and Lyft, because they looked at all the drivers who are applying for unemployment, and they're kind of like, wait a minute, we're giving a lot of drivers unemployment. We have a law that says they're supposed to be employees, and you're still not paying into this. I think that was like the main reason they pulled the trigger and started that lawsuit. So anyway, let's see. So anyway,
you know what? We're almost 2.5 hours. Can we say 2.5 hours? That's 6.5 minutes. We'll call this one done.
Yeah.
Because I could go all night, but I got things I got to do.
Yeah. Like, you guys may have to water your message down because you're trying to sub, so I don't have a problem. No, we are not watering our message down, Payment. We are not. And if you want to know how we're not watering our message down, bite us. cyberbite us. We don't care. We don't care. You don't want to watch our channel again? Bye-bye. We don't care. We're sharing our thoughts on this. Just because you don't agree with it doesn't mean that we don't feel this way. So says the guy who said, by the way, you should make up with Roy, without actually bothering to ask me why I don't like Roy in the first place. So again, megabyte me. Robin says, drivers are workers. Driving is a job, whether you're a 1099 Uber driver or W-2 taxi drivers. And I call them like I see them. Yep, that's fine. So let's see here. You're considering a business. Why not apply for a PPE? Well, wish we could talk about that one, but there you go. So yeah, actually, I think now's a good time to end. We've been going.
And after you told all the people to bite you.
No, actually, no. I told that one. No, I told that one guy. Basically, if you think that we're watering down our opinion just because we're trying to reach sub, like, no, I don't care.
I honestly, I think both of us are beyond. We try to find engaging content that people will enjoy and subscribe, but I don't think it influences our decision or our message. I really don't. I think that we're so beyond that at this point that,
yeah,
you would end up constantly editing yourself, worried about are people going to subscribe, and I don't think that either Kevin and I have the energy or even the self-awareness to do that.
No, we're never going to get PewDiePie subscribers numbers, so we're just like not yeah. I mean, personally, like, even if I stay stuck at 16,000 forever, you know what? That's way more than most people get. So I'm perfectly. I'm happy. Also, I've got that other channel that's coming up on 5,000 subscribers, and that's growing. And I honestly like those topics a heck of a lot more than the topics that I talk on this channel. So there you go. It's like, anyway. So, whew. All right. Well, I'm pretty much done. So hey everyone. Do you want to see me and Mark do something like this again in a week or two? Let us know in the comments below, and like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.